Good afternoon, folks. I am Robert Chappell, your executive editor at Madison365 with the daily update for today, which is Wednesday, the 17th of March. Happy St. Patrick's Day to those of you who celebrate. The update today is brought to you by Reach Dane, which is a wonderful local nonprofit organization. For over 51 years, Reach Dane has remained the leader in high-quality early childhood education and comprehensive family services in Dane and Greene counties. The families they serve have at least one child under the age of 5 and live at or below the federal poverty line, and nearly 30% of those families are struggling with homelessness. Without their daily necessities met, these children cannot readily absorb education or build essential skills. It's really hard to learn when you're hungry, is another way to say that. Reach Dane provides wraparound services such as mental health, meals, and transportation that help to lay that foundation and help make sure kids are ready to learn when they get to school. They're enrolling now for immediate care right now, and they're reserving spots for the fall when school opens again. So if you need those services, or if you want to support those services financially, go to reachdane.org for more information. Now, let's talk first about the coronavirus numbers, and then we'll have some news at the national level, as well as some local news. There are a couple numbers here in the coronavirus news that concern me just a tiny bit. Okay, we talked yesterday that even though vaccination numbers looked good, overall things felt okay. There was just a little bit of a upward trend of cases going up a little bit, which I don't love. Today, the actual case count is actually a little better than yesterday. Testing is up and cases are down, which is always what you want to see, right? Almost 2,900 new cases, or I'm sorry, new tests, new results. Either the first negative test or the first positive test after several negative tests. So we're almost 2,900 of those. Of those, 318 are positive. That's about 11%. Yesterday, that was 28%. Okay, so today we're kind of evening out. Yesterday was a little bit of a spike, so we're evening that out. So that's a little better. And that actually drops our daily average of new cases from 440 yesterday down to 411 today. Okay, that's better. What I don't love is the 7-day positive test rate ticking up a little bit for the second consecutive day. Now, we're still well below 3.0, which is that's our threshold where we want to stay. We want to stay below 3.0% of all tests coming back positive. Okay, so we're still below 3. That's great. We were at 2.0 for 4 consecutive days. Yesterday went up to 2.1. Today to 2.2. Not time to panic. But when I look at the picture of the chart, that goes like down, 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 and it goes up a tiny bit. I don't love that. So we will keep an eye on that. We'll hope that if the case numbers continue to head in the right direction, then that percentage will also continue to go in the right direction. But what that tells me is we really, really have to remain vigilant. It is so tempting to decide that this is over. It's tempting for me. I'm neck deep in this data every day, right? I'm bringing it to you every day. And I know how important it is to stay vigilant. And even I am can we just be done now? I'll start going to the car without a mask. And I'll actually have that thought, do I really need it? Yeah, I do. Because that's where we are right now. A year into this thing, the numbers are looking good. They're far better than they were in October and November. But we can't be tempted to do that. We got to stay vigilant, right? Because I'll tell you, there's several of these numbers, and I'll point out a couple more that look very similar to what they were in June of last year, when we were below 3% on the positive test rate. We were under 6,000 active cases. We were averaging about 200 cases a day. And we relaxed. And there were big events outdoors, there were protests outdoors, there were there's not real strong evidence that those outdoor events led to spikes, but there were spikes. The cases started to go up in early July. So let's not repeat that. Let's stay vigilant, keep it down here below 3 by wearing our masks, by keeping our distance, by not gathering in big groups until we can get these vaccines done, which is happening. The vaccine is happening. We just got to hang on for a few more months. Now, we are at 6,311 active cases as of today, which is not a bad number. Like I said, last June, it's about where it started in early June last year. It went all the way down to about 4,400 and then went straight back up to about 79,000. So let's not let that happen again. That's only about 1.1% of cases, of all cases, are still active right now. Now, we did also see 15 fatalities today, or rather 15 fatalities were reported today. Now, the good news is, even with that, there were only 3 yesterday, 0 the day before that. So we typically do see a higher number of fatalities reported like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's just when the paperwork gets done. So typically we've been seeing 20, 30, 40 on a Tuesday or Wednesday. So to see 3 yesterday and 15 today is actually, it feels bad to say 15 deaths, but that's actually an improvement from previous weeks. What that means is our daily average of reported deaths stays at 4, which is for the second consecutive day. It was 4 yesterday. And that gives us that nice low average at 4. So I'm just seeing your comments here, Luke Diaz. You're absolutely right. There's no actual evidence that any outdoor events led to any COVID spikes. But it is true that there was a lot of stuff happening in June. I was just saying there was a lot of gatherings in June. I'll also say that most of the BLM protests in June, people wore masks. But it seems to me that there weren't any significant outdoor events that led to any spikes, including Trump rallies, including BLM protests, including voting in April, anything like that. No, outdoor events do not seem to have contributed to any big spikes. And Pernicia says this really well. It's being mitigated. I've always said that when you get it below 3%, that's how you know you've got it under control, right? We've got this thing under control right now. It doesn't mean it's gone, and it's very easy for us to lose control of it again. So that's what I'm trying to get at here. So thank you for that, Patricia. Okay, let's talk real quick about vaccinations. We know that lots and lots of people are going to become eligible for vaccines starting next week. Well over half of the population will be eligible next week. That's people with all sorts of medical conditions. We also know that 10 of the most vulnerable zip codes in Milwaukee, all adults in those 10 zip codes will be eligible starting on Monday. But what the good news is we are continuing to accelerate. We had almost 33,000 people get their at least one shot in the last 24 hours, get their first shot. And then another 17,000 completed their vaccines. So some of those 17,000 got the one Johnson & Johnson shot, and some of those 17,000 got the second dose of their Pfizer or Moderna shot. They don't differentiate between them. But we know that now we are approaching 740,000 people vaccinated fully. That's about just shy of 13% of the population. So we need to get that to 80%, right? So we got to keep moving. But these day-to-day numbers of vaccines getting administered is pretty promising to me. We've increased our number of vaccines that have been allocated to us. So we have used up right now about 86% of what we have allocated. So we've gotten about 265,000 more doses allocated to Wisconsin. It's not here yet. We have about 100,000 doses in transit here. So the fact is that we have adequate supply here. We have even more supply on the way. That's the bottom line. So it seems like all these expanded eligibilities will not lead to vaccine shortages. So as soon as you are able to make an appointment, make one. Because it's looking like we're doing a pretty good job of getting them to people, getting people vaccinated. So find that appointment and get it done. That's the bottom line. All right, that is the coronavirus news for today. I have lots more news on some disturbing, some good news as well. So stay with us. We will be right back right after this. All right, so we have an update on this developing situation in Atlanta. I'm sure you probably have heard that a 21-year-old white man has been arrested in the deaths of 8 people in the Atlanta area. He apparently allegedly targeted one massage parlor outside Atlanta, and then targeted 2 more massage parlors that were just sort of next to each other, across the street from each other. Ended up shooting and killing 8 people, wounding at least 1 more. Apparently, police authorities have not yet really said this is a racially motivated hate crime, but 6 of the 8 victims were Asian American women. And the explanation that the suspect has given was that he had some sort of sex addiction, and that these massage parlors and these women in particular were, I guess, tempting to him or something. So it might be framed as not a racially motivated hate crime, more like a sexually motivated crime. But the fact is that those 2 things are wrapped up sometimes when you talk about fetishization. Especially of Asian women, and it is it's pervasive, and it's destructive, and it can lead to stuff like this. And we know that there also, whatever this guy's motivations were, and however, logical or rational they were or weren't. We also know that there's been an increase in hate crimes against Asian Americans. Like a 150% increase in hate crimes against Asian Americans in the past year, owing in no small part to our former president and lots of other leaders blaming Asian nations for coronavirus. So, in response to that, all that, and prompted as well by this Atlanta shooting, there is a rally here in Madison, March for Asian American Lives, set for tomorrow at 6:30. It's going to start at 210 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, which is the Madison Municipal Building, or the City County Building. I can never remember which is 210, but there's 2 buildings that face each other on both sides of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and be in front of the Manoa Terrace. And the march is going to go up and around the square, and that's going to start at 6:30 tomorrow evening. Now, we also have another bit of unfortunate, to say the least, and I don't have a lot of details on this yet, but I'm speaking a little bit later today with Yi-Lang Zhang, who is the executive director of the Hmong American Center in Wausau, in the Wausau area. Now, Mr. Zhang is also one of the most involved community people you'll ever meet. He is on the Weston Village Board. He's on the DC Everest School Board, and he's on the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. He holds 3 local elected positions at once. And he runs this nonprofit organization, and their van that they use to provide transportation to Hmong elders and deliver food and things to people who are in need, was vandalized last night. And you can see, you know what FU stands for. And he has blocked off. There's another piece of graffiti here that he has blocked off because it's inappropriate and offensive. And he posted this on Facebook. And I honestly don't know what this says yet. I'm going to speak with Mr. Zhang later this evening, and I'll have an update with more detail on the site Madison365.org tomorrow morning. But the complicating factor in this is that this particular van had been parked without insurance, that they had discontinued the insurance, and because of, they were just, the organization, like lots of nonprofits, is really financially strapped. So they were in the process of getting the insurance reinstated so that they could use the van to do those deliveries and transport people. And this vandalism took place. So they're actually raising funds now they're trying to raise about $5,000, which is what it costs to fix a paint job like this. So they've got that going. They've raised about $1,800 so far. And again, I'll have more details as well as a link to the GoFundMe tomorrow morning on Madison365.org. And one other update on a good news story from Madison. This is the former American Exchange Bank. Most recently, it was the American Family Dream Bank, sort of this entrepreneurial and innovation center. And the American Family Dream Bank has moved to the Spark building, which is owned by American Family, a little bit further down East Washington. But this is on the corner of East Wash Avenue and Pinckney Street, right on the Capitol Square. Like literally, if you're standing in front of this old bank and turn around, the Capitol is right there. This building was built in 1871, and it's owned currently by Urban Land Interests. And they have donated the first floor rent-free for at least a year to the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County. So they're going to use that partially for office space for the Black Men's Coalition of Dane County. And then they're basically seeking ideas from the community. What should we do with the space downtown? They also found out yesterday, so surprisingly, that they're also going to get the Quiznos next door, the former Quiznos. So they've got like a kind of this sort of bank office space, and then next door they've got like a retail space. So they're, Michael Johnson, the CEO there, just says, whoever wants to suggest what we should do with this space, let us know. Could turn it into like a co-working space, could be an event space, it could be just a food distribution place for people downtown who need, that kind of thing. So it's kind of an exciting donation. It's kind of cool. And it'll be interesting to see. I think I'm going to try to meet up with Michael tomorrow and just kind of get a tour of the place, and maybe I'll take some pictures and post them later. But you know what else is really interesting bit of history that I discovered about this? That this is sitting on the spot, at this corner, which I knew there was this old hotel called the American House Hotel that burned down in 1868. And I knew it was on Pinckney Street, but what I didn't know is that it's actually on this corner. So this building where the Boys and Girls Club is going to have this downtown location now, it's sitting on the exact spot of the old American House Hotel, which for several years was owned and operated by Beverly Jefferson, one of the very first Black businessmen in Madison. Beverly Jefferson, you might be able to guess, is the grandson of Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings. So this spot is really tied in a really interesting way to the history of Black Madison. And it's really cool that now that Michael Johnson and the Boys and Girls Club, who serve Black and brown youth, will be able to use that same spot. So that was my interesting little history tidbit for the day. That's all the news I have for you right now. Like I said, I'm going to talk with Mr. Zhang tonight, so I'll have more information about that tomorrow. I'll have some more interesting and fun things to announce tomorrow and Friday as well. But until then, take care of yourselves. Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you soon.
This is 365 Media.